Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. In this episode, sponsored by Schubert, I am speaking with Edmund Conson, Sales Account Manager, and we are going to discuss the latest advances in automated packaging technology. Hi, Edmund. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Joni. You're very welcome.
Anyone who has been to a show like Pack Expo knows that there's a lot to unpack, and I want to start by kind of getting into the trends. Just from your perspective, what are some of the most common demands that you're hearing from your bakery customers?
Well, there's a lot of them. Of course, they're varying, but most of the time, there's kind of a few that center in the conversation. And the first one is, of course, the business side of it. But the additional part that I would say is becoming more and more prevalent is help us make a long-term plan of some sort, meaning let's stay flexible, let's move with the market, but I need automation because that will help me with my workforce.
From what I've seen, probably for the past 10 years, packaging automation was really geared toward those high volume operations that were just cranking out tons of one or two product types where there weren't a lot of changeovers. And that really lent itself to that efficiency to get things done really fast. On the flip side, I would have these conversations with bakers who needed flexibility, who had a lot of different product types, that they would say, yeah, automating in the packaging area doesn't work because we are doing a lot of changeovers and we really need to have humans in there. How has that changed? I'm seeing a shift, but I'm curious how you're seeing the change.
Well, the change kind of comes in two sides. Like you said, one is just the bakery customer changing, and especially as the variety of their products goes up, so too, as you said, the changeover becomes very important. We, as the machine side of things, we're trying to decrease complexity. So whether that is, as an example, something like a cobot or vision learning, those two things help decrease the complexity to the customer. And then specifically supporting those things, that's become such a central thing to, I think, most automation companies, but especially at Schubert, the support of the customer when they have any sort of question. The first time you go to do anything with a new piece of equipment, you're going to be unsure how to do that. So our support and our service team is second to none. And that's, I think, one of the things that we've grown the absolute most to help the customer with any changes as they're doing them.
So I had a conversation with a baker recently, and it was a baker who specifically 7 years ago, I had this conversation, and it was almost like, I'll never automate in this area because I need flexibility. And it was a pretty hard line because of that flexibility. Now they're automated with some Schubert robotics. And so I asked this question, was it Schubert's technology specifically that enabled this, or is it just the advances in robotic technology? And basically what he said was, it's both. So can you just kind of walk me through what's happening with robotics? Like, what's happening with this technology?
I guess specifically with robotics, the reality is robotics are advancing, of course. They're becoming more flexible, like we talked about. They're also becoming easier. So when you talk about that specific baker, I think one of the things to any of the bakery customers that we deal with is the modularity that we bring. No matter what, you have to learn the robotics, but that modularity helps you understand the overall system. So while it might look complicated on the face of it, it's really not when you learn the basic Lego building blocks. And more, whether it's the control system or whether it's the robot itself, if you know those fundamental Legos, then you can build up and understand the system. And that's everybody from the person on the floor all the way through the owner of the company.
Something else that I noticed that I thought was really cool was data. What machines can do with data now is pretty mind-blowing. And so can you kind of tell me, like, how Schubert is using data to make robots smarter?
Sure. So some part of it is simply the system itself is designed from the ground up to work with the vision. That's a big part of it. And that data is then compiled and can be put out to the customer to help them with their process, as an example, not just, is this a good cookie? Is this a good croissant? But also, how are they showing up? Are they too large on average? Are they too small on average? And that customer can take that data and do with it what they want. The other part of vision and or robotics as it ties together is the capability to model things quickly. So if you're running, as an example, a new product, that's something that we as Schubert have tried very hard to make it easier and easier to implement a new product by simply scanning a product and saying, this is now the product I want to run. And so long as the realities of, let's say, your tooling are that you can pick it up, you could yourself reprogram the machine to pick up something entirely different than you were running yesterday. It goes back into the training that's so important with the whole organization. And then again, learning those Lego blocks.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to the question that always comes up when we're talking about this. When we talk about labor, automation stemmed from a workforce shortage. But to bring in automation, and especially you bring in robots, and the people who are there get scared because they're like, what does this mean? So those are really two ends of the spectrum. I think the truth lies in the middle. So what is the reality with the relationship between machines and robots and the humans in the bakery?
I think the most important thing to remember is that without the people, the machine doesn't run. This is not an island that just you can leave it, do its own thing. It takes people to make that thing run. It's really, really important to who we are to take the time to teach people to maintain the machine, to run the machine every day, to, again, like I said, innovate with the machine. But that doesn't come from some magical AI source. That comes from the people running it and on the bakery floor. In general, you mentioned, the sense that people are somewhat afraid of the innovation that comes with automation and what's going to happen to me. I think what you would find with speaking to a lot of our customers is simply they don't want to get rid of people. They simply want to eliminate those repetitive jobs that nobody wants. I mean, truly nobody wants. If you can eliminate that and teach someone how to run a robot or a robotic system, then there are far more people interested in it, and it's a better quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think knowing that there is data to support that the robots don't have to just replace people, but make people's jobs easier, give them opportunities to explore other areas of the bakery where they might want to work, or like you said, learn about those machines and learn about data and really like develop a new skill set. The robotic automation actually creates opportunities.
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it, in the end, whether it's us as a machine builder or just us as a potential partner, depending on, how hopefully the customer looks at it as a partnership, we're going to run this together. And most importantly, there are people involved in every single step. And there will continue to be people involved in every single step. It's something that is not going to change in the near future. And if anything, like you said, can help the quality of life.
I just want to bring it all down to kind of culture. And it's something that I've recently learned a little bit about with Schubert. That's a family owned company, a global company, but a family owned company that has a very specific type of culture. So, as a family owned business, can you describe how Schubert's culture sort of focuses on that human relationship, even as a company that manufactures machines? Is it something that has developed over time, or is this like inherent in the culture of Schubert?
I think from the beginning, and of course, I haven't been here for all of Schubert's existence, but I can speak to a bit of the existence, and then also talking to the Schubert family. It's important for everybody to realize it is a family. You're being invited into the family, so to speak. Hopefully we find people who choose to do business with us, and when that happens, we want to make sure that one, we take care of them, because two, they're going to have this piece of equipment for a very long time, and we want that experience to be a good one. This is not something like, as an example, something like a mortgage where we see you one time and that's it. This is something we will see you the first time when they're speaking to me, and it's important, and it's come down from the very top. Everybody actually cares, and that's the reason why we take the time to make the visits. And it's the reason why everybody sits down with you at the trade show and offers you a cup of coffee and those sorts of little things. It's in our DNA. Where it comes from specifically, I think, is a conscious decision that we want people to feel that, let's say, Schubert value.
All right. So if bakers want to learn more about Schubert and the technology and this culture and really find out how to get this relationship started, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
They can just go to www.schubert.group. And from there, they can find their way either to North America's website or just make an inquiry, and then we will reach back out to them.
I love that. Well, Edmund, those are all my questions. And I just have to say, you really shared a lot of useful information. And I learned a lot just from a technical side. But then also, I really feel that Schubert warmth just in the conversation and what you're conveying. So I got to say, I'm going to walk away from this one feeling a little bit smarter and feeling like we're kind of friends now.
Well, thanks, Joni. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much for all you do for the industry and for sharing your knowledge with us today.
My pleasure.